About to finish up The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Sheen. Probably only got like 40 minutes left with this book. Like, so hopefully we can get, I mean, I know we can get through it by the end of this night. Like, ain't no rush. Now my baby crying. That's why a two-parent home is very important. Because if it was just me, I would have had to go check, stop the live, see what was going on. But good thing my kids got their mama. So like I said, we're going to finish this book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. Hope you guys enjoyed the book. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let us know where you from, who in the house. Well, who on the live. As y'all can see, I'm still got this cough. Like, so when I start smoking and that start coughing, it ain't because of the weed. It ain't because I got baby lungs or none of that. It's like trying to get over this cough. Bear with me while I get this video to play.
For one thing and finds another. Intuition is a spiritual faculty and does not explain, but simply points the way. A person often receives a lead during a treatment. The idea that comes may seem quite irrelevant, but some of God's leadings are mysterious. In the class one day, I was treating that each individual would receive a definite lead. A woman came to me afterwards and said, "While you were treating, I got the hunch to take my furniture out of storage and get an apartment." The woman had come to be treated for health. I told her I knew in getting a home of her own, things would improve, and I added, "I believe your trouble, which is a congestion, has come from having things stored away. Congestion of things causes congestion in the body. You have violated the law of use, and your body is paying the penalty." So I gave thanks that divine order was established in her mind, body, and affairs. People little dream of how their affairs react on the body. There is a mental correspondence for every disease. A person might receive instantaneous healing through the realization of his body being a perfect idea of divine mind. People little dream of how their affairs react on the body. There is a mental correspondence for every disease. A person might receive instantaneous healing through the realization of his body being a perfect idea and divine mind, and therefore whole and perfect. But if he continues his destructive thinking, hoarding, hating, fearing, condemning, the disease will return. Jesus Christ knew that all sickness comes from sin, but admonished the leper after the healing to go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon him. So man's soul, or subconscious mind, must be washed whiter than snow for permanent healing, and the metaphysician is always delving deep for the correspondence. Jesus Christ said, "Condemn not lest ye also be condemned. Judge not lest ye be judged." Many people have attracted disease and unhappiness through condemnation of others. What man condemns in others, he attracts to himself. For example, a friend came to me in anger and distress because her husband had deserted her for another woman. She condemned the other woman and said continually, she knew he was a married man and had no right to accept his attentions. I replied, "Stop condemning the woman, bless her, and be through with the situation. Otherwise, you are attracting the same thing to yourself." She was deaf to my words, and a year or two later, became deeply interested in a married man herself. Man picks up a live wire whenever he criticizes or condemns, and they expect a shock. Indecision is a stumbling block and many a pathway. In order to overcome it, make this statement repeatedly. I am always under direct inspiration. I make right decisions quickly. Indecision is a stumbling block and many a pathway. In order to overcome it, make this statement repeatedly. I am always under direct inspiration. I make right decisions quickly. These words impress the subconscious, and soon one finds himself awake and alert, making rapid moves without hesitation.
How bad,
I
y'all?
have found it destructive to look to the psychic plane for guidance, as it is the plane of many minds and not the one mind. As man opens his mind to subjectivity, He becomes a target for destructive forces. The second plane is the result of man's mortal thought, and is on the plane of opposites. He may receive either good or bad messages. The science of numbers and the reading of horoscopes keep man down on the mental or mortal plane, for they deal only with the karmic path. I know of a man who should have been dead years ago, according to his horoscope, but he is alive and leader of one of the biggest movements in the country for the upliftment of humanity. It takes a very strong mind to neutralize a prophecy of evil. The student should declare, "Every false prophecy shall come to naught. Every plan my Father in heaven has not planned shall be dissolved and dissipated. The divine idea now comes to pass." However, if any good message has ever been given one, of coming happiness, of wealth, harbor and expect it, and it will manifest sooner or later through the law of expectancy. Man's will should be used to back the universal will. I will that the will of God be done. It is God's will to give every man every righteous desire of his heart, and man's will should be used to hold the perfect vision without wavering. The prodigal son said, "I will arise and go to my father." It is indeed often an effort of the will to leave the husks and swine of mortal thinking. It is so much easier for the average person to have fear than faith. So faith is an effort of the will. As man becomes spiritually awakened, he recognizes that any external inharmony is the correspondence of mental inharmony. If he stumbles or falls, he may know he is stumbling or falling in consciousness. One day a student was walking along the street, condemning someone in her thoughts. She was saying mentally, "That woman is the most disagreeable woman on earth," when suddenly 3 Boy Scouts rushed around the corner and almost knocked her over. She did not condemn the Boy Scouts, but immediately called on the law of forgiveness and saluted the divinity in the woman. Wisdom's way are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. When one has made his demands upon the universal, he must be ready for surprises. Everything may seem to be going wrong, when in reality it is going right. For example, a woman was told that there was no loss in divine mind. Therefore, she could not lose anything which belonged to her. Anything lost would be returned, or she would receive its equivalent. Several years previously, she had lost $2,000. She had loaned the money to a relative during her lifetime, but the relative had died, leaving no mention of it in her will. The woman was resentful and angry, and as she had no written statement of the transaction, she never received the money. So she determined to deny the loss and collect the $2,000 from the Bank of the Universal. She had to begin by forgiving the woman, as resentment and unforgiveness closed the doors of this wondrous bank. She made this statement: "I deny loss. There is no loss in divine mind. Therefore, I cannot lose the $2,000 which belongs to me by divine right. As one door shuts, another door opens." She was living in an apartment house which was for sale, and in the lease was a clause stating that if the house was sold, the tenant would be required to move out within 90 days. Suddenly, the landlord broke the leases and raised the rent. Again, injustice was on her pathway, but this time she was undisturbed. She blessed the landlord and said, "As the rent has been raised, it means that I'll be that much richer, for God is my supply." New leases were made out for the advanced rent, but by some divine mistake, the 90-day clause had been forgotten. Soon after, the landlord had an opportunity to sell the house. On account of the mistake in the new leases, the tenants held possession for another year. The agent offered each tenant $200 if he would vacate. Several families moved, 3 remained, including the woman. A month or 2 passed, and the agent again appeared. This time he said to the woman, "Will you break the lease for the sum of $1,500? It flashed upon her, here comes the $2,000. She remembered having said to friends in the house, "We will all act together if anything more is said about leaving." So her lead was to consult her friends. These friends said, "Well, if they have offered you $1,500, they will certainly give $2,000. So she received a check for $2,000 for giving up the apartment. It was certainly a remarkable working of the law, and the apparent injustice were merely opening the way for her demonstration. It proved that there is no loss, and when man takes his spiritual stand, he collects all that is his from this great reservoir of God. I will restore to you the years the locusts have eaten. These adverse thoughts alone rob man, for no man gives to himself but himself, and no man takes away from himself but himself. Man is here to prove God, and to bear the witness to the truth. And he can only prove God by bringing plenty out of lack, and justice out of injustice. Prove me now herewith, said the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. This ends chapter 8. Chapter 9. Perfect Self-Expression, or the Divine Design. There is for each man perfect self-expression. There is a place which he is to fill and no one else can fill. Something which he is to do, which no one else can do. It is his destiny. This achievement is held a perfect idea in divine mind, awaiting man's recognition. As the imaging faculty is the creative faculty, it is necessary for man to see the idea before it can manifest. So man's highest demand is for the divine design of his life. He may not have the faintest conception of what it is, for there is, possibly, some marvelous talent hidden deep within him. His demand should be, Infinite Spirit, open the way for the divine design of my life to manifest. Let the genius within me now be released. Let me see clearly the perfect plan. The perfect plan includes health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. This is the square of life, which brings perfect happiness. When one has made this demand, he may find great changes taking place in his life, for nearly every man has wandered far from the divine design. I know in one woman's case, it was as though a cyclone had struck her affairs, but readjustments came quickly, and new and wonderful conditions took the place of old ones. Perfect self-expression will never be labor, but of such absorbing interest that it will almost seem like play. The student knows also, as man comes into the world financed by God, the supply needed for his perfect self-expression will be at hand. Many a genius has struggled for years with the problem of supply, when his spoken word and faith would have released quickly the necessary funds. For example, after the class one day, a man came to me and handed me a cent. He said, I have just 7 cents in the world, and I'm going to give you 1, for I have faith in the power of your spoken word. I want you to speak the word for my perfect self-expression and prosperity. I spoke the word and did not see him again until a year later. He came in one day, successful and happy, with a roll of yellow bills in his pocket. He said, immediately after you spoke the word, I had a position offered me in a distant city, and am now demonstrating health, happiness, and supply. A woman's perfect self-expression may be in becoming a perfect wife, a perfect mother, a perfect homemaker, and not necessarily in having a public career. Demand definite leads, and the way will be made easy and successful. One should not visualize or force a mental picture. When he demands the divine design to come into his conscious mind, he will receive flashes of inspiration and begin to see himself making some great accomplishment. This is the picture or idea he must hold without wavering. The thing man seeks is seeking him. The telephone was seeking Bell. Parents should never force careers and professions upon their children. With a knowledge of spiritual truth, the divine plan could be spoken for early in childhood or prenatally. A prenatal treatment should be, let the God in this child have perfect expression. Let the divine design of his mind, body, and affairs be made manifest throughout his life, throughout eternity. God's will be done, not man's. God's pattern, not man's pattern, is the command we find running through all the scriptures, and the Bible is a book dealing with the science of the mind. It is a book
What's up
telling
with your
man how
dances
to release
tonight?
his
Shout out for
soul
coming through
or
once
subconscious
again.
mind from bondage. The battles described are pictures of
Just
men
finishing up
waging
this
war
book.
against immortal thoughts. A man's foes shall be they of his own household. Every man is a Jehoshaphat, and every man is David, who slays Goliath, mortal thinking, and white stone, faith. So man must be careful that his is not the wicked and slothful servant who buried his talent. There is a terrible penalty to be paid for not using one's ability. Often fear stands between man and his perfect self-expression. Stage fright has hampered many a genius. This may be overcome by the spoken word or treatment. The individual then loses all self-consciousness and feels simply that he is a channel for infinite intelligence to express itself through. He is under direct inspiration, fearless and confident, for he feels that it is the Father within him who does the work. A young boy came often to my class with his mother. He asked me to speak the word for his coming examinations at school. I told him to make the statement, I am one with infinite intelligence. I know everything I should know on this subject. He had an excellent knowledge of history, but was not sure of his arithmetic. I saw him afterwards, and he said, I spoke the word for my arithmetic and passed with the highest honors, but thought I could depend on myself for history and got a very poor mark. Man often receives a setback when he is too sure of himself, which means he is trusting in his personality and not the Father within. Another one of my students gave me a sample of this. She took an extended trip abroad one summer, visiting many countries where she was ignorant of the languages. She was calling for guidance and protection every minute, and her affairs went smoothly and miraculously. Her luggage was never delayed nor lost. Accommodations were always ready for her at the best hotels, and she had perfect service wherever she went. She returned to New York. Knowing the language, she felt God was no longer necessary, so she looked after her affairs in an ordinary manner. Everything went wrong. Her trunks delayed amid inharmony and confusion. The student must form the habit of practicing the presence of God every minute. In all thy ways acknowledge him. Nothing is too small nor too great. Sometimes an insignificant incident may be the turning point in a man's life. Robert Fulton watched some boiling water simmering in a tea kettle, saw a steamboat. I have seen a student often keep back his demonstration through resistance or pointing the way. He pins his faith to one channel only, and dictates just the way he desires the manifestation to come, which brings things to a standstill. My way, not your way, is the command of infinite intelligence. Like all power, be it steam or electricity, it must have a non-resistant engine or instrument to work through, and man is that engine or instrument. Over and over again, man is told to stand still. O Judah, fear not, but tomorrow go out against them, for the Lord will be with you. You shall not need to fight this battle. Set yourselves, stand ye still, and see the salvation of the Lord with you. We see this in the incidents of the $2,000 coming to the woman through the landlord when she became non-resistant and undisturbed, and the woman who won the man's love after all suffering had ceased. The student's goal is poise. Poise is power, for it gives God power a chance to rush through man, to will and to do its good pleasure. Poised, he thinks clearly and makes right decisions quickly. He never misses a trick. Anger blurs the visions, poisons the blood, is the root of many diseases, and causes wrong decision leading to failure. It has been named one of the worst sins, as its reaction is so harmful. The student learns that in metaphysics, sin has a much broader meaning than in the old teaching. Whatsoever is not of faith is sin. He finds that fear and worry are deadly sins. They are inverted faith, and through distorted mental pictures, bring to pass the things he fears. His work is to drive out these enemies from the subconscious mind. When man is fearless, he is finished. Natterling says that man is God afraid. So as we read in the previous chapters, man can only vanish fear by walking up to the thing he is afraid of. When Jehoshaphat and his army prepared to meet the enemy, singing praise the Lord, for his mercy endureth forever, they found their enemies had destroyed each other, and there was nothing to fight. For example, a woman asked a friend to deliver a message to another friend. The woman feared to give the message, as a reasoning mind said, don't get mixed up in this affair, don't give that message. She was troubled in spirit, for she had given her promise. At last, she determined to walk up to the lion and call on the law of divine protection. She met the friend to whom she was to deliver the message. She opened her mouth to speak it when her friend said, so-and-so has left town. This made it unnecessary to give the message, as the situation depended on the person being in town. As she was willing to do it, she was not obliged to. and as she did not fear, the situation vanished. The student often delays his demonstration through a belief in incompletion. He should make this statement: in divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, my demonstration is completed. My perfect work, my perfect home, my perfect health. Whatever he demands are perfect ideas registered in divine mind, and must manifest, under grace, in a perfect way. He gives thanks he has already received on the invisible, and makes active preparation for receiving on the visible. One of my students was in need of a financial demonstration. She came to me and asked why it was not completed. I replied, perhaps you are in the habit of leaving things unfinished, and the subconscious has gotten into the habit of not completing. As the without, so the within. I'll go home and finish something I commenced weeks ago, and I know it will be symbolic of my demonstration. She sewed assiduously, and the article was soon completed. Shortly after, the money came in a most curious manner. Her husband was paid his salary twice that month. He told the people of their mistake, and they sent word to keep it. When man asks believing, he must receive, for God creates his own channels. I have been sometimes asked, suppose one has several talents, how is he to know which one to choose? To man, to be shown definitely. Say, Infinite Spirit, give me a definite lead. Reveal to me my perfect self-expression. Show me which talent I am to make use of now. I have known people to suddenly enter a new line of work and be fully equipped with little or no training. So make the statement, I am fully equipped for the divine plan of my life, and be fearless in grasping opportunities. Some people are cheerful givers, but bad receivers. They refuse gifts through pride or some negative reason, thereby blocking their channels and invariably find themselves eventually with little or nothing. For example, a woman who had given away a great deal of money had a gift offered her of several $1,000s. She refused to take it, saying she did not need it. Shortly after that, her finances were tied up, and she found herself in debt for that amount. Man should receive gracefully, the bread returning to him upon the water. Freely ye have given, freely ye shall receive. There is always the perfect balance of giving and receiving, and though man should give without thinking of returns, he violates law if he does not accept the returns which come to him. For all gifts are from God, man being merely the channel. A thought of lack should never be held over the giver. For example, when the man gave the 1 cent, I did not say, poor man, he cannot afford to give me that. I saw him rich and prosperous, with his supply pouring in. It was this thought which brought it. If one had been a bad receiver, he must become a good one, and take even a postage stamp, if it is given him, and open up his channels for receiving. The Lord loveth a cheerful receiver, as well as a cheerful giver. I have often been asked why one man is born rich, healthy, and another poor and sick. Where there is an effect, there is always a cause. There is no such thing as chance. The question is answered through the law of reincarnation. Man goes through many births and deaths until he knows the truth which sets him free. He is drawn back to the earth plane through unsatisfied desire to pay his karmic debts or to fulfill his destiny. The man born rich and healthy has had pictures in his subconscious mind in his past life of health and riches, and the poor and sick man of disease and poverty. Man manifests on any plane the sum total of his subconscious beliefs. However, birth and death are man-made laws, for the wages of sin is death. The Adamic fall in consciousness through the belief in two powers. The real man, spiritual man, is birthless and deathless. He never was born and has never died, and he was in the beginning, he is now, and ever shall be. So through the truth, man is set free from the law of karma, sin, and death, and manifests the man made in his image and likeness. Man's freedom comes through the fulfilling his destiny, bringing into manifestation the divine design of his life. His Lord will say unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things, death itself. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord, eternal life. This ends chapter 9.
Like, her hitting on the reincarnation, like I forgot she talked about this. I guess probably because I never truly make it to the end of the book. I'm always just reading throughout the book, like different pages, different chapters, but not front to back. Like, but my wife, we have this conversation a lot about like why babies like go through certain things, like experience certain things, and it's because of reincarnation. It's because of karma. We all get what we put out. It don't matter how old you are, because you 9 times out of 10, a normal human being they've reincarnated thousands of times. Like me, I reincarnated 18 times. This is my not yeah, this is my 18th time being here. This is my last time being here. Like, but some people they come back to back to back to back to back because they don't never learn no type of lesson. They'll never like evolve. They'll never grow. Like, they just stuck in this karmic cycle. Like so, that's why I reincarnate on this planet. Like not to, cause I've already evolved out of here. Like I come back to help y'all. Not y'all to say, like, cause I'm pretty sure most of y'all are like chosen ones, but I come back to help humanity evolve and wake up and grow. That's why I got this book club. That's why I created Positive Minds Only, because my whole thing was to wake other people up, like because that's what my mission is, and I'm living in my purpose. So, as I live in my purpose, I enrich others, so the universe enriches me. Like, and this is one of the best ways to do it. Getting on live, listening to an audio book that can change somebody's life, that can give uh, take them out of perspective of someone who's poor minded, broke, like think negative to someone who thinks positive. Like so that's why I'm gonna continue to play these type of books. So all if it's just one person who wake up, like that's all I need. Like shit. Cause ain't no telling who that person gonna impact in the future. So yeah, we ain't got this long on this book. Like 16 minutes left on this book, so I'm gonna try to play it and let it play through.
Chapter 10, Denials and Affirmations. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. All the good that is to be made manifest in man's life is already an accomplished fact in divine mind, and is released through man's recognition or spoken word. So he must be careful to decree that only the divine idea be made manifest, for often he decrees, through his idle words, failure or misfortune. It is therefore of the utmost importance to word one's demands correctly, as stated in a previous chapter. If one desires a home, friend, position, or any other good thing, make the demand for the divine selection. For example, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my right home, my right friend, my right position. I give thanks. It now manifests under grace in a perfect way. The latter part of the statement is most important. For example, I know a woman who demanded $1,000. Her daughter was injured and they received $1,000 indemnity. So it did not come in a perfect way. The demand should have been worded in this way: Infinite Spirit, I give thanks that the $1,000, which is mine by divine right, is now released and reaches me under grace in a perfect way. As one grows in a financial consciousness, he should demand that the enormous sums of money, which are his by divine right, reach him under grace and perfect ways. It is impossible for man to release more than he thinks is possible, for one is bound by the limited expectancies of the subconscious. He must enlarge his expectancies in order to receive in a larger way. Man so often limits himself in his demands. For example, a student made the demand for $600 by a certain date. He did not receive it, but heard afterwards that he came very near receiving $1,000, but he
Exactly.
was given just 600 as the result of his spoken word.
Some people like they just me. I had to learn my lesson a bunch of times. Like when I was just asking for everything, like I had to learn to be exact with what I want, be direct in what I want. Because if you don't, like the universe will give you what you ask for, but it ain't gonna be what you want. Like so, most people they don't learn any lessons from that. They just keep, or sometimes they just stop asking for shit and all. Like damn, if I keep getting shit and it ain't what I want, I'ma just be content with what I got. Like me, I learned how to ask for things now, like so it don't come with like something that's attached to it that I don't want to deal with. So you got to be direct in what you want. When I visualize shit, when I imagine things, I imagine it in full detail. Like when I was imagining like the multi-million-dollar home I went with, the multi-million-dollar home I want, I will visualize myself pulling up to it in my Tesla, like the gate opening before me, like me walking out my car, going into the house, like me laying in the bed, like I was doing all these different type of visualizations, like, cause that's all part of manifestation, like so, and being direct in what you want, knowing what you want, like.
Limited, the Holy One of Israel. Wealth is a matter of consciousness. The French have a legend giving an example of this. A poor man was walking along a road when he met a traveler, who stopped him and said, "My good friend, I see you are poor. Take this gold nugget, sell it, and you will be rich all your days." The man was overjoyed at his good fortune and took the nugget home. He immediately found work and became so prosperous that he did not sell the nugget. Years passed, and he became a very rich man. One day he met a poor man on the road. He stopped him and said, "My good friend, I will give you this gold nugget, which if you sell, will make you rich for life." The mendicant took the nugget, had it valued, and found it was only brass. So we see, the first man became rich through feeling rich, thinking the nugget was gold. Every man has within himself a gold nugget. It is his consciousness of gold, of opulence, which brings riches into his life. In making his demands, man begins at his journey's end. That is, he declares he has already received. "Before ye call, I shall answer." Continually affirming establishes the belief.
So I already know like what book I want to listen to next, or what book I want to play next, and it's called The Alchemist. Like so, I probably just play that right after this go off, like, and just get that out the way, because it is a pretty long book, but it is an interesting book. And the way she just mentioned it like that would just made me pick the book that I wanted to listen to next. Like, unless y'all got some other books that y'all want to like start hearing, like me, I like books that's gonna expand your mind, like that's gonna open you up, like help you manifest more. Like so, The Alchemist, that's a great book. Like one of the most recommended books. Like when somebody wake up, they go like, "Hey, have you read The Alchemist?" Like,
in the subconscious. It would not be necessary to make an affirmation more than once if one had perfect faith. One should not plead or supplicate, but give thanks repeatedly that he has received. "The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose." This rejoicing, which is yet in the desert state of consciousness, opens the way for release. The Lord's Prayer is in the form of command and demand. "Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors," and ends in praise. "For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Concerning the works of my hand, command ye me." So prayer is command and demand, praise and thanksgiving. The student's work is in making himself believe that with God all things are
for
possible.
sure.
This
So
is
shout
easy
out to
enough to
Spiritual
state in the
Socrates. Hey,
abstract,
hey,
but a little more
your
difficult.
name dope right there. Spiritual Socrates. Great, Pete Rock. Hey, shout out to you. I
When
fuck with
confronted with a
Socrates.
problem. For example, it was necessary for a woman to demonstrate a large sum of money within a stated time. She knew she must do something to get a realization. For realization is manifestation, and she demanded a
Hey,
lead.
thanks for that
She was
subscribe for
walking
sure.
through a
I
department
appreciate
store
it.
when she saw a very beautiful pink enamel paper cutter. She felt the pull towards it. The thought came, "I haven't a paper cutter good enough to open letters containing large checks." So she bought the paper cutter, which the reasoning mind would have called an extravagance. When she held it in her hand, she had a flash of a picture of herself opening an envelope containing a large check, and in a few weeks she received the money. The pink paper cutter was her bridge of active faith. Many stories are told of the power of the subconscious when directed in faith. For example, a man was spending the night in a farmhouse The windows of the room had been nailed down, and in the middle of the night he felt suffocated and made his way in the dark to the window. He could not open it, so he smashed the pane with his fist, drew in draughts of fine fresh air, and had a wonderful night's sleep. The next morning he found he had smashed the glass of a bookcase, and the window had remained closed during the whole night.
Your
He
mind
had
is
supplied
powerful.
himself with oxygen simply by his thought of oxygen. When a student starts out to demonstrate, he should never turn back. Let not that man who wavers think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A black student once made this wonderful statement: "When I ask the Father for anything, I put my foot down and I say, 'Father, I'll take nothing less than I've asked for, but more.' So man should never compromise. Having done it all,
I'll take nothing less than what I asked for, but more. Like, hey, that's powerful. This book was made in 1925. Like, once again, this goes back to like white people having the information a long time ago, and they not racist. But me growing up, all I'm taught about in school is motherfucking slavery, the KKK, like bullshit. So I'm always thinking like white people racist, but like the most powerful people in the world are white people, and they're not racist because they understand how the law of the universe work. Like so, when they reference black people, you don't never hear them say a Negro, colored person, nigga. Like they don't ever mention like black people in that way, like because they got respect. Like shit, that's where the information came from. This information don't come from white people. It comes from like the spiritual like hermetic laws and like that was in Egypt. Like so, they give respect where it's due. Black people the one who don't like to read, but also like guess what? They miss out on all the information, all the knowledge that they supposed to have. Like that's why I never was racist. Like I never could be racist because like my favorite teacher was a third grade. Like her name was Miss Buchanan, and she was white, and she taught me about King Tut and the pyramids, and like all my other black teachers, they was teaching us about slavery and shit. So I always had love for her because she the one who truly taught me about my history. My history don't start with slavery. Most black people think their history starts with slavery. Like, nah, y'all was kings, queens, doctors, like physicians, psychologists. So, like, so most black people they don't understand that though. But I ain't trying to wake nobody. I'm not trying to forcefully wake people up and put this in front of them. That's why I just create my space, and then the right people will come towards it. At first, when I first woke up, I was trying to just tell everybody, "Hey, wake the fuck up." But knowing like their alarm don't go off to 10:30, and I'm up at 6. Like so, of course they ain't trying to wake up. They ain't trying to hear what I gotta say, cause it ain't they time to get up. It ain't they time to wake up. So let people stay asleep, shit, if they want to.
stand. This is sometimes the most difficult time of demonstrating. The
Mom always
temptation
says
comes
there's
to
a
give up,
check
to
in
turn
the
back, to
mailbox,
compromise.
and don't you
He
know
also
she used to
serves
always
only
give
who
the car.
stands and wait.
Hey, your mom,
Demonstration
I need
often
to start
comes at the
using that.
11th hour,
I need to start
because
using
man
that.
then lets
There's
go.
always a
That is, stops
check in the
reasoning, and
mailbox.
infinite intelligence has a chance to work. Man's dreary desires are answered drearily, and his
I'm
impatient
gonna subscribe
desires
to you,
long
spiritual
delayed or
Socrates, for
violently
sure.
fulfilled. For example, a woman asked me why it was she was constantly losing or breaking her glasses. We found she often said to herself and others with vexation, "I wish I could get rid of my glasses." So her impatient desire was violently fulfilled. What she should have demanded was perfect eyesight, but what she registered in the subconscious was simply the impatient desire to be rid of her glasses, so they were
Be
continually being
careful what you
broken or
ask for.
lost. Two attitudes of mind cause loss: depreciation, as in the case of the woman who did not appreciate her husband, or fear of loss, which makes a picture of loss in the subconscious. When a student is able to let go of his problem, cast his burden, he will have instantaneous manifestation. For example, a woman was out during a very stormy day, and her umbrella was blown inside out. She was about to make a call on some people whom she had never met, and she did not wish to make her first appearance with a dilapidated umbrella. She could not throw it away, as it did not belong to her. So in desperation she exclaimed, "Oh God, you take charge of this umbrella. I don't know what to do." A moment later, a voice behind her said, "Lady, do you want your umbrella mended?" There stood an umbrella mender. She replied, "Indeed I do." The man mended the umbrella while she went into the house to pay her call, and when she returned, she had a good umbrella. So there's always an umbrella mender at hand on man's pathway when one puts the umbrella or situation in God's hand. One
Everything
should
you
always
ask
follow a
for, like it
denial with an
appears. Like if you
affirmation.
really pay
For
attention,
example, I was called on the
everything.
phone late one night to treat a man whom I'd never.
Now that I think about like how social media and like the internet is set up to like you could just think some shit and then it'll pop up as an advertisement on your phone. Me understanding that like I only think like positive shit. Like I only think about money. I only think about opportunities. Like I only think about miracles. So on my internet, like everything that just pops up in my life, I'm always looking at it. Oh, like oh, that's the opportunity I asked for, or this the miracle I asked for, or I spoke into existence, or I thought it into existence. So most people they think about nothing, so nothing pops up, or they think about bullshit, and all they get in their life is bullshit. So thank you for the love, my brother. Nah, thank you for the like subscribe, coming through and chilling
He was
for
apparently
sure.
very ill. I made this statement. I deny
Daniel
this
Reps
appearance
and
of
DL, what's
disease.
up? What's up? I'm
It
doing
is
pretty
unreal,
well, my brother.
therefore cannot
Another
register
day I'm
in his
here, like
consciousness.
shit, putting
This
this
man
work
is a
in.
perfect idea in divine mind, pure substance expressing perfection. There is no time or space in divine mind. Therefore, the word reaches instantly its destination and does not return void. I've treated patients in Europe, and I have found that the result was instantaneous. I am asked so often the difference between visualizing and visioning. Visualizing is a mental process governed by the reasoning or conscious mind. Visioning is a spiritual process governed by intuition or the superconscious mind. The student should train his mind to receive these flashes of inspiration and work out the divine pictures through definite leads. When a man can say, "I desire only
Hold on,
that
my
which
daughter
God
here.
desires for me," his new set of blueprints is given him by the master architect, the God within. God's plan for each man transcends the limitation of the reasoning mind and is always the square of life containing health, wealth, love, and perfect self expression. Many a man is building for himself in imagination a bungalow when he should be building a palace. If a student tries to force a demonstration through the reasoning mind, he brings it to a standstill. "I will hasten it, saith the Lord." He should act only through intuition or definite leads. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently. Trust also in Him, and He will bring it to pass. I have seen the law work in the most astonishing manner. For example, a student stated that it was necessary for her to have $100 for the following day. It was a debt of vital importance which had to be met. I spoke the word declaring Spirit was never too late and that the supply was at hand. That evening she phoned me of the miracle. She said that the thought came to her to go to her safe deposit box at the bank to examine some papers. She looked over the papers, and at the bottom of the box was a new $100 bill. She was astounded and said she knew she.
The last time I went to my PO box, like, cause I rarely go to my PO box. Like, even though it be mail in there, I'll take months, like, before I go to the next time. But the last time I went, I was expecting a check to be in there, or I was expecting something to be in there, but it wasn't. But when I got there, like it was $100 bill on the floor. Like so, me, I picked it up and I looked around. I asked like a couple people. I'm like, "Hey, did you drop some money?" And they was like, "No." So I'm like, "Shit, I ain't about to keep asking everybody." I just took that $100 and I was out. Like so, hey, this book rings
Never put
true.
it there, for she had gone through the paper many times. It may have been a materialization as Jesus Christ materialized the loaves and fishes. Man will reach the stage where his word is made flesh, or materialized instantly. The fields ripe with the harvest will manifest immediately, as in all of the
But
miracles of Jesus
yeah.
Christ. There is a
Hey, I'm trying to get on Jesus level. Like what she said, like Jesus was able to manifest shit off the back. Like the loaves of bread. Anybody know about Jesus and like how he dispersed fish and bread to thousands of people and he only had a few. That's because he was able to manifest it. Like that's what this book is saying. So I'm trying to get to like where Jesus was, like spiritually, like where I'm when I say some shit, it manifests into reality. I mean, it's kind of like that now, like when I say things, like, and then it'll pop up, but Jesus was on another level. That nigga was walking on water. If I try to walk on water, I'm gonna bust my ass.
find this power alone in the name Jesus Christ. It stands for Truth Made Manifest. He said, "Whatsoever ye ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you." The power of this name raises the student
Shit,
into the
instant
fourth dimension,
manifestation, mind
where he is
blown.
freed from all
Exactly,
astral and
like
psychic
that's
influences,
that's
and he
all
be-
it took for me to like give Jesus like way more respect. Like he it was it's that's what he was about, instant manifestation. Like he was on that level. I thought I was like manifesting shit pretty quick, but his shit is instant manifestation. And in this world, like that's impossible. Like you gotta wait years for some shit to like pop up. Like, but he wasn't he wasn't tempted. Like he didn't fall to lust or none of that. So he was able to get to that level. Like shit to instant manifestation. Like ain't no telling. Well, if I was able to say some shit, speak some shit, and it happened right there, like it'd be bad shit happening in my life. I mean, it'd be bad shit popping up. It'd be good shit popping up. Like more good than bad, but like I just know I'm not to the point in my life where everything is the right thing that I'm saying. Like, or not what I'm saying, but I know I could be on another level. I know I can turn it up some more. Like true, he lived a perfect sinless life. Exactly. Like he wasn't programmed by TV, radio. Like that's why it was so easy for Jesus. Like cause he grew up in the times where shit was smoke. Like you could easily like be righteous. You could easily be conscious back in Jesus' day because there was nothing like that was stopping him. Like, but he was just on another level. Like he knew who he was from birth, from the time he was born. Like he always knew who he was, and that's what it's about. Like he didn't. Most people, I mean, everybody, when we are born on this earth, we forget like who we are. Like you got to go through that stage. For some reason, he didn't have to go through that. So Jesus is. I ain't gonna say he was that's cheating, but like he had a head start. Like some people got a head start in life. I ain't figured it. I ain't wake up till I was 28. So I can't say I'm like trying to be like Jesus because he by the time he was 33, like he was transitioning out this month, like he was been doing miracles and wonders of the world, like so. Shout out to that man, like shit, for just staying true to himself, not letting the devil or sin or whatever like stop him. And even when he was betrayed, like he still showed love. And that's what we were saying about. I need to go back and read the Bible, not the whole thing, but I just need to read the story of Jesus and like what he went through. Cause it's all about manifestation. It's not about like dying and going to a heaven or hell and shit. It's not about religion. It's about the story and understanding the true meaning behind it. Like the Bible got so many fucking meanings and like metaphors. Like that shit is crazy.
is unconditioned and absolute, as God Himself is unconditional and absolute. I have seen many healings accomplished by using the words, "In the name of Jesus Christ." Christ was both person and principle, and the Christ within each man is his Redeemer and salvation. The Christ within is his own fourth dimensional self, the man made in God's image and likeness. This is the self which has never felt, never known sickness or sorrow, was never born and has never died. It is the resurrection and the life of each man.
But that's the thing about Jesus. Like I was just thinking, she ain't just say something, but I just went back. I started thinking about Jesus. I'm like, man, he lived this perfect life, but yet he still got sacrificed for niggas to still be sinning, still be living in this fucked up, like doing this all this fuckery. Like so, it was like he basically died for nothing because there's not too many people that's like Jesus on this planet. It's not too many people that know who they are. Like so, I'm like, did he die for nothing? Like for me, like he's more motivation now. Like I got way more motivation, like just behind his character and who what he stood for now. Like but overall as mankind, like yeah, they pray to Jesus. Yeah, they say yeah I believe, but they really don't. They like the Israelites who left fucking Egypt. They were like, why you take us out of there? Why we they sinning, like worshiping false gods, like why save these niggas? Why try to wake people up for what? Like these motherfuckers just gonna turn on you. Jesus showed you. Like He only had 12 niggas around him, and one of them fucking turned on him. Like, damn. The fuck? What's the point of me fucking trying to like be perfect? Like, I mean, I'm still gonna, of course, I'm gonna still be positive, like, like be on my journey. But at the same time, like, it's still gonna try to kill you. They still gonna try to sacrifice you, take you out. Like, this is an ugly, fucked up world, honestly.
No man cometh to the Father save by the Son means that God, the universal, working on the place that is particular, becomes the Christ in man. And the Holy Ghost means God in action. So daily, man is manifesting the Trinity of God, Son, and Holy Ghost. Man should make an art of thinking. The master thinker is an artist and is careful to paint only the divine designs upon the canvas of his mind, and he paints these pictures with masterly strokes of power and decision, having perfect faith that there is no power to mar their perfection, and that they shall manifest in his life the ideal made real. All power is given man through right thinking to bring his heaven upon his earth, and this is the goal of the game of life. The simple rules are fearless faith, non-resistance, and love. May each listener be now freed from that thing which has held him in bondage through the ages, standing between him and his own, or her and her own, and know the truth which makes him, her, free, free to fulfill his or her destiny, to bring into manifestation the divine design of his or her life, health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Denials and affirmations. For prosperity, God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly under grace and perfect ways. For right conditions. Every plan my Father in heaven has not planned shall be dissolved and dissipated, and the divine idea now comes to pass. For right conditions. Only that which is true of God is true of me, and I and the Father are one. For faith. As I am one with God, I am one with my good, for God is both the giver and the gift. I cannot separate the giver from the gift. For right conditions. Divine love now dissolves and dissipates every wrong condition in my mind, body, and affairs. Divine love is the most powerful chemical in the universe and dissolves everything which is not of itself. For health. Divine love floods my consciousness with health, and every cell in my body
When
is
do you
filled with
usually
light.
start with the
For
book?
the
I always
eyesight.
seem to be late.
My eyes are God's
Good
eyes.
question. Good question. 8:30 Western time. Pacific. I said Western Pacific. So I'm in Las Vegas, so I usually start at 8:30. So that's what 11:30 on the East Coast. Like Central Time, that's 10:30. So I'm usually on here every night. Like so, and this book is almost done, but. You may be late to the live, but after this book, we about to start the Alchemist, so you gonna be on time for that. Like so, you may not need it to hear this book that was just playing. You probably can like your spirit wants you to hear the Alchemist. Like so, but still, shout out to Jason Williams for coming through. But yeah, I need to be more like tell. Somebody told me they said you need to start telling people when you like hopping on live like more consistent, like so people would know. Me, I got a bad habit of just hopping on here, like, cause then like I used to always do that. Like I used to when I had my podcast, I'd tell my podcast, yeah, I'm just podcasting every Thursday, and then I'll do like 2 Thursdays in a row, and then I just stop doing them. Like so, I'm like, fuck it, let me stop telling people shit and just do it. So, but lately I've been on here like I've been 8:30, like so.
I see with the eyes of spirit. I see clearly the open way. There are no obstacles on my pathway. I see clearly the perfect plan. For guidance, I am divinely sensitive to my intuitive leads and give instant obedience to thy will.
That,
For the hearing, my ear.
that sounded like a dope book. What was the name of it? The one we listen to now is called "The Game of Life and How to Play It." But the next book we're gonna be listening to, "The Alchemist." So,
God's ears. I hear with the ears of spirit. I'm non resistant and am willing to be led. I hear glad tidings of great joy. For right work, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give a perfect service for perfect pay. For freedom from all bondage, I cast this burden on the Christ within, and I go free. This ends chapter 10, and it also ends Orange Shovel Shins, the game of life and how to play it.
All right, so shit. Finally, we finished that book. We started with Think and Grow Rich. We didn't finish that, like, 'cause that's a 9-hour book. Like that would have took forever, and I didn't want to just be like stuck just doing Think and Grow Rich for like a week straight. Like I love the book, but at the same time, I want other people to like to hear different things too as well. So yeah, that was the game of life and how to play it. We about to check out the Alchemist, and before we check out the Alchemist, like what I wanted to say about the one we just finished, like that book is for affirmations. As you can see, it was a lot of times she was saying repeat this, like so. That's why I listen to that book a lot because it helps me with affirmations. Like I got a bunch of affirmations written down in my notes that I barely go back and check, but I do got them. And like it's certain affirmations she said that I use on the regular. Like so, that's a great book for like affirmations and like changing your mindset and knowing like everything they was writing back then in the 1925 like I mean I said in the 1925s but in the 1920s the early 1900s it still rings true today, like that still resonate for today. That information will live on forever, like so. Shout out to Florence Scoville Shin. She a dope author. She got other books. We may get into some of those down the road. But yeah, we about to listen to The Alchemist. And this is by Paulo Coelho. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but whatever. A thing like that, like how his or he could answer the question. Oh shit, I didn't fucking took this shit all the way back. But it was saying like how he had these two stones. One basically says yes and the other says no, and he asks it questions. Like I got a pendulum where I'm able to ask it questions, like and it'll give me the answers I need. Like so, I there's definitely things you can utilize on your journey that can make life way more easier, smooth, like tarot cards or like just horoscopes, like pendulums, like is way a lot of stuff that people don't utilize that could make their life way more smooth, way more easier. Like me, I have that information. I utilize that information, and like that's why life works out. Like that's why it goes good for me, and like everything I go through, like whether it's bad or good, like I know it's like it's all to benefit what I got going on and like the overall plan and my mission in Earth. Like so, that's where we're gonna end like the book today. Like we got pretty far with it, and this is the second book we listened to today. So tomorrow we go. I ain't gonna say we're gonna finish this book, but we're gonna continue where we left off. But I did kind of actually rewind it like a little bit. I pressed some and I actually took it back. Like so, I'm gonna try to figure out where we left off at after I hop off the live. But yeah, we've been on this mug 3 hours so far. Like so, pretty appreciate y'all for coming through. Like for real, like shit. I feel like this is like my job, like just hopping on YouTube. So like the goal is to like at least get in a couple hours, like so it can feel like I did some type of work. Like so, 3 hours. Thank y'all for tuning in. Love you guys. Peace. We out.